So this is a picture of Sadhguru. His real name is Jaggi Vasudev. And he went on Joe Rogan and he spoke to him for just less than 3 hours. And I think it was one of the worst interviews Joe Rogan has done, at least since I've been watching him. And I only watch when I see him talk to someone that I know of or that I find is interesting. And so that's less than a dozen interviews that I've seen. But I like the format. I like that they have time to talk out different issues instead of doing sound bites. But Joe knows next to nothing about Sadhguru, and it really showed, and he did a really poor job of interviewing him. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that I mean. Now, what I know about Sadhguru is he's very good at marketing. He's the one that reached out to Joe Rogan to talk. He said some, I think he sent him his most recent book, and he said some things, and Joe thought, oh, this will be a great interview. But he asked him no tough questions. He didn't push back on anything he said, and I want to go through what I mean. First of all, Sadhguru claims to be a yoga instructor, and he has formed a foundation. I believe it's called the Isha, ISHA Foundation. You can look that up, and I'll put links to all the things I'm going to cite. I'll put links in so you can look them up. Sadhguru's net worth is $25 million. Let's keep that in mind as I go through some of these other things. His annual income is $4 million. I don't know how many books he's written, but he's written a few. Joe, I wrote down here in my notes, Joe did no vetting and he challenged none of his claims. Let's look at some of the things he said. They started off by talking about the soil. Sadhguru said everything is connected to soil somehow. He said that 90% of Americans are vitamin D deficient. The actual number is 40%. Then he said 70% of land in the world is under cultivation. In reality, it is 10%. Joe then challenged him about greed. After the soil, then they began talking about vitamins, and then they got into greed. Joe said, well, that's... I don't know, he made a retort, and then Sadhguru said that's being very judgmental. So they talked about that. Sadhguru says, in pursuit of happiness, we are turning the world upside down. Then he went on to say, I'm paraphrasing just from my notes. He said, heaven has collapsed and no one wants to go anymore. I recall him saying years ago when he asked who wants to go to heaven, almost everyone would raise their hand, and now he says no one does. He doesn't provide any evidence for the things he was saying, and Joe didn't challenge him. Joe says he made an apology after he got called out a few weeks ago, and Joe said he's going to be better and he's going to challenge people. He did none of this. So Joe said to him when he brought up religion that religion is associated with atrocities. And this is one of the reasons why he said what he said. Sadhguru says our body has a user's manual. And this is par for the course in what he says. He says something flamboyant, something you would almost say outrageous. Joe didn't know what to say. He would half-heartedly say, really, kind of explain, and then Sadhguru would kind of make a joke, or he would say something about it, and then they would go on to another topic. I'm just looking at my notes. I have down here, people have turned dogs into people. I don't know what he meant by that. Joe said that. Sadhguru then says, if there was no pain, people would not know how to survive. On the surface, I don't agree with that. I don't believe it. It's just typical of the things he kept saying. And then, of course, the next thing they did was Sadhguru started talking about a thing he knew Joe would get excited about. They started talking about extraterrestrials, and Joe perked up like a little, like a dog seeing a toy, or that type of analogy, and they went off on that for at least 30 to 40 minutes. He kept asking him questions, and Sadhguru did his Muhammad Ali evasion. He just kept evading question after question after question because he didn't know anything about it. But he brought it up because he knew Joe would like it. He obviously did his research about Joe, knowing what Joe would like and wants to talk about, and Joe knew nothing about Sadhguru and so was at a disadvantage. This is typical of the interviews that Joe does. Now, had I had the chance, so I was introduced to Sadhguru by a friend, and I knew quite a bit about him just by virtue of looking up about this gentleman and doing some research on him. And there would have been a lot of questions I would have asked. I would have done it more in hard talk style from BBC, asking about. And so when I looked up today, here's another story. Spiritual guru to Will Smith and Tom Brady is branded a charlatan. And so I'll put a link into this article as well. There is so many stories that I looked up about Sadhguru that this guy is an out-and-out fraud. And Joe brought up nothing about this. Didn't ask him about it. Could have asked him gentle questions about it to see how he responded, and he didn't. This was, I think, a terrible interview in the sense that all he did was act as a marketing agent, permitting him to say whatever he want with no pushback and no challenging of the things that he said. So I'll put up links to all the things that I came up about him if you're interested to read about. But I just wanted to say that for those of you who will watch the interview by Joe about Sadhguru, keep this in mind. It is just shameful that Joe does an interview and brings up nothing about the claims that he said or the things that everyone knows about Sadhguru. I just think it's abominable. Anyways, I'll put a link into all those things as they say. You can read them at your leisure. Do not believe anything that Sadhguru says. All the things he brought up about meditation were taken almost verbatim from Eckhart Tolle. And I find that this is what these guys do. They take good ideas from other characters, brand them as their own, and then another thing he said when he said he goes into the prisons in India and he established this program, and he made it sound like he'll walk into a prison and all the prisoners will just stop and listen to him like he was Mahatma Gandhi. It was just shameful because this is not true at all. And Joe didn't challenge him on this at all. Really poor journalism on Joe's part. I think it was just atrocious. But that's just my opinion. You can decide for yourself.